The cargo ship drifted through space like a broken bird. Smoke poured from its engines while sparks flew from damaged control panels. Jake Morrison gripped the steering wheel with white knuckles as his ship shook violently. Behind him, 3 pirate vessels fired laser blasts that lit up the darkness. Come on, Jake muttered to his dying ship. The fuel gauge showed almost empty. His shields were gone. More hit would finish him. Through the front window, he saw a green planet growing larger. It looked peaceful with thick forests and blue oceans. Jake had never seen this world before, but right now it was his only chance. He pushed the ship toward the planet's surface as another laser blast missed his hull by inches. The pirates followed him into the atmosphere. Jake's ship began to glow red-hot as it cut through the air. The forest below rushed up to meet him. At the last second, he pulled up hard and crashed into the trees. Metal screamed against wood. The ship tumbled through branches and finally stopped in a clearing. Jake's head rang like a bell. Blood dripped from a cut on his forehead. Was alive. He stumbled out of the wreckage and looked around. Tall trees surrounded him on all sides. Strange birds made clicking sounds in the branches above. The air smelled clean and fresh, nothing like the recycled air on space stations. Jake found his emergency kit and activated the distress beacon. He could only wait and hope someone friendly would find him first. He was checking his supplies when he heard engines overhead. A sleek silver ship landed in the clearing. It was 3 times bigger than Jake's cargo hauler and looked expensive. The hull showed no damage, and strange symbols glowed along its sides. A ramp lowered with a soft hiss. 3 figures walked out. The first was tall and blue-skinned with 4 arms. Military uniform, Jake noticed. Lots of medals. The second looked like a giant insect walking upright, with compound eyes that reflected the sunlight. The third was shorter and covered in gray fur, wearing what looked like a lab coat. The blue-skinned one spoke first. I am Commander Voss of the Galactic Council Fleet. You are the source of the distress signal. Jake nodded. Jake Morrison. My ship got shot up by pirates. Thanks for the rescue. The insect creature made a clicking sound. This is Dr. Nira, Commander Voss said, pointing to the insect. And Sergeant Rex, he added, indicating the furry one. I am afraid rescue will not be immediate. Our main fleet is engaged elsewhere. A transport will arrive in 3 planetary rotations. 3 days? Jake asked. Correct. You are on Cathara Prime, a restricted world under Council protection. Commander Voss looked around the forest. We are here on official business. Annual Great Hunt. Jake had never heard of it. What kind of hunt? Dr. Nira's compound eyes focused on him. The most dangerous prey in the galaxy, she said in a voice like rustling leaves. The blood maw sounds nasty, Jake said. Sergeant Rex laughed, showing sharp teeth. Nasty does not begin to describe it. The blood maw has killed 312 hunters over the past 2 centuries. It stands 12 feet tall and weighs nearly a ton. Its claws can cut through starship hull metal. Its hide deflects most energy weapons, Dr. Nira added. It possesses regenerative abilities that allow it to heal from wounds that would kill most creatures. And its intelligence rivals that of any sentient species. Commander Voss puffed out his chest. Every cycle, the greatest hunters in the galaxy come to test themselves against this ultimate predator. Most are content simply to survive the encounter. Only a few have ever managed to wound it seriously. Has anyone ever killed one? Jake asked. The 3 aliens exchanged glances. No, Commander Voss said quietly. No one has ever killed a blood maw. They're considered the perfect evolutionary predator. Jake looked around the forest with new eyes. Somewhere out there was a monster that had never been defeated. So you're here to hunt this thing? I am here to lead the hunt, Commander, Voss said proudly. Dr. Nira will document the encounter for the Council archives. Sergeant Rex provides tactical support. We have 9 other hunters arriving shortly, Dr. Nira explained. Warriors from across the galaxy. Each has trained for years for this opportunity. As if summoned by her words, more ships began landing in the clearing. Each vessel was different, representing various alien races and technologies. From them emerged creatures Jake had never imagined. A lizard-like being with scales that shifted color, floating jellyfish creatures surrounded by crackling energy, others that defied easy description. All were armed with weapons that probably cost more than Jake's ship had when it was new. Their armor gleamed with force fields and enhancement systems. They moved with the confidence of professional killers. Commander Voss introduced them briefly. Captain Tor from the warrior clans. Hunter Prime Zix of the Void Stalkers. Names and species that meant nothing to Jake, but clearly impressed each other. 12 hunters total, Commander Voss announced to the group. The largest force ever assembled for a great hunt. This time, we will make history. Jake listened to them plan their attack. They had motion sensors, heat detectors, and weapons that could level buildings. Their strategy involved complex formations. In fallback positions, everything was precise and professional. "What about me?" Jake asked when they finished. The aliens looked at him like they had forgotten he existed. "You will remain at the base camp," Commander Voss said. "This is far too dangerous for a civilian cargo hauler." "I can handle myself," Jake protested. "I've been in tough spots before." Several aliens made sounds that Jake thought might be laughter. "With respect, humans," said Captain Tor, the scaled warrior, "you carry primitive tools and wear basic clothing. The blood maw would kill you before you could even run." "Your species evolved as prey animals," added Hunter Prime Zix, its voice like breaking glass. "You have no natural weapons, no enhanced abilities. It would be cruel to allow you to accompany us." Jake wanted to argue, but he looked at their advanced equipment and kept quiet. These were professional warriors who had spent their lives preparing for this moment. What could a cargo hauler possibly add? However, Commander Voss said, "We could use someone to maintain the base camp and coordinate communications. If you wish to help in that capacity, you are welcome." It was better than sitting alone for 3 days. "Sure," Jake said. "I can do that." Dr. Nira began setting up monitoring equipment while the hunters checked their weapons. The sun was setting, painting the forest in shades of red and gold. Somewhere in those trees was a creature that had never been defeated. Jake wondered what they were getting themselves into. The camp bustled with activity as the aliens prepared for the morning hunt. Jake helped where he could, mostly staying out of the way. He watched them work and learned about their equipment. Everything was designed to kill the unkillable. As night fell, the forest filled with new sounds. Howls and roars echoed between the trees. The hunters seemed nervous, constantly checking their sensors. "It knows we are here," Dr. Nira observed, studying her readings. "Good," Commander Voss said grimly.
"Ow."
"Tomorrow we make our mark on galactic history." Jake settled down for the night, listening to the alien sounds of Cathara Prime. He had no idea that history was indeed about to be made, just not in the way anyone expected. Dawn broke over Cathara Prime with a red sky that made the forest look like it was on fire. Jake woke up to the sound of aliens checking their weapons and testing their equipment. The camp buzzed with nervous energy. Commander Voss stood in the center of the group, his forearms moving as he pointed at a holographic map. The blood maw was last seen in Sector 7 near the Crystal Caves. "We will approach in 3 teams and surround the area." The 12 hunters gathered around the map. Each wore armor that probably cost more than Jake's entire cargo business. Their weapons hummed with power cells and energy fields. Jake had never seen such advanced technology up close. "Team Alpha will take the north approach," Commander Voss continued. "Captain Tor, you will lead. Team Beta goes south with Hunter Prime Zix. I will take Team Gamma through the center," asked Dr. Nira, her compound eyes reflecting the morning light. Sergeant Rex activated a device that looked like a metal spider. "Sensor drones will maintain constant surveillance. The moment we detect the creature, all teams will be alerted." Jake watched from the edge of the group. He'd offered to help, but the aliens made it clear they considered him a liability. Still, Commander Voss had allowed him to come along as a communications coordinator. "Remember," Commander Voss said, his voice serious, "this creature has killed over 300 trained warriors. It is faster than most vehicles, stronger than a combat mech, and smarter than it has any right to be. Do not underestimate it. The hunters nodded grimly. Jake noticed that even these hardened warriors seemed nervous. They broke camp and moved into the forest. Jake followed Team Gamma, carrying a basic communications pack and his old plasma cutter. The weapon was designed for cutting metal cargo. Containers, not fighting monsters, but it was all he had. The forest was beautiful in the morning light. Tall trees stretched toward the sky, their leaves making patterns of light and shadow on the ground. Strange flowers bloomed in colors Jake had never seen. Birds sang from the branches, and small animals scurried through the underbrush. It looked peaceful, too peaceful. The local wildlife is unusually quiet, Dr. Nira observed, scanning the area with her instruments. Most creatures have fled the region? I know, said Lieutenant Kex, a warrior who looked like a walking tree. Animals can sense when a true predator is near. The team spread out according to plan. Jake stayed close to Commander Voss and Dr. Nira as they moved deeper into the forest. The aliens moved with practiced stealth, their advanced gear making almost no sound. After 2 hours of hiking, they found the first sign. Claw marks, Sergeant, Rex whispered, pointing to a massive tree trunk. The gouges in the wood were 3 feet long and cut deep into the hardwood. They were fresh, maybe hours old. Jake ran his fingers along one of the cuts. The wood was scored clean, as if sliced by the sharpest blade. These cuts go through 6 inches of ironwood, Dr. Nira said, taking measurements with her scanner. The force required would be enormous. Commander Voss examined the marks carefully. It was marking territory, warning us. Jake asked. The blood maw is intelligent, Dr. Nira explained. It knows we are hunting it. These marks are a message. It is telling us we are not welcome here. They pressed on, following a trail of broken branches and disturbed earth. The forest grew thicker and darker as they moved deeper into the creature's territory. Even the alien technology seemed less impressive, surrounded by the ancient trees. Jake noticed something the others missed. The trail was too obvious, too easy to follow. He had hauled cargo through some rough places and learned to spot when someone was setting a trap. Commander, he said quietly, this feels like we're being led somewhere. The blue-skinned warrior looked at him with mild annoyance. The creature is an animal? Human. It does not set traps. But you said it was intelligent. Intelligent for an animal? There is a difference. Jake did not argue, but he kept watching the forest around them. Something felt wrong. At noon, they reached a clearing near the crystal caves. The sensor drones had detected movement in the area. All 3 teams converged on the location. Weapons ready. The clearing was empty, except for more claw marks on the rocks. But these marks were different. They formed patterns, almost like writing. What does it mean? Jake asked. Dr. Nira studied the marks with growing excitement. I believe it is attempting to communicate. This is unprecedented. No one has ever documented blood maw communication. Attempts? What is it trying to say? Commander Voss asked. Before Dr. Nira could answer, the forest exploded into action. The blood maw came from 3 directions at once. Jake's mind struggled to process what he was seeing. The creature was massive, standing 12 feet tall on powerful legs. Its hide was dark gray, scarred from countless battles. 6 arms ended in claws that gleamed like metal. At its head was a nightmare of teeth and glowing red eyes. But there was only one creature? How was it attacking from 3 directions? Holograms, Dr. Nira shouted. It is using the crystal formations to project false images. The real blood maw struck from above, dropping from the trees like a giant spider. It landed in the center of the group and immediately began killing. Captain Tor fired his plasma rifle at point-blank range. The beam struck the creature's chest and bounced off harmlessly. The blood maw's claw swept across his body, cutting through armor that could stop tank rounds. Hunter Prime Zix tried to float away. But one of the creature's 6 arms stretched out impossibly far and grabbed the jellyfish-like being. There was a sound like breaking glass, and Hunter Prime Zix fell to the ground, its glow fading. Scatter, Commander Voss ordered, but it was too late. The blood maw moved like liquid death. It was faster than anything that size had a right to be. Its claws cut through the aliens' advanced armor like it was paper. Their weapons barely slowed it down. Jake dove behind a rock as the creature tore through the hunting party. In 30 seconds, half the aliens were dead or dying. The survivors ran in different directions, their formation completely broken. The blood maw did not chase them. Instead, it stood in the center of the clearing and let out a roar that shook the ground. Then it disappeared back into the forest. As quickly as it had come, the silence that followed was deafening. Jake crawled out from behind his rock. 6 aliens lay dead in the clearing. The others were scattered throughout the forest, separated and terrified. "Commander," Jake whispered into his communication device. Here came Voss's shaken voice. "Team Alpha, report." Only 3 voices answered. Half the hunting party was gone. Dr. Nira's voice crackled through the cum. It was playing with us. The creature knew exactly where we were and what we planned. To do it, set a trap. "Impossible," Commander Voss said, but his voice lacked conviction. Jake looked at the claw marks on the rocks. They were not random scratches. They were definitely a message. The question was, what was the blood maw trying to tell them? As if in answer to his thoughts, new sounds echoed from the forest. The creature was moving again, circling them like a predator toying with wounded prey. The real hunt was just beginning. Night fell over Cathara Prime like a black curtain. The surviving hunters huddled in a makeshift camp, their confidence shattered like broken glass. 6 aliens were dead, their advanced weapons and armor useless against the blood maw's intelligence and speed. Commander Voss sat with his back against a tree, staring at his tactical display. His forearm shook slightly as he tried to make sense of what happened. "In 20 years of military service, I have never seen anything like this," he whispered. Dr. Nira worked frantically at her scanner, trying to understand the creature they faced. "The readings make no sense," she said, her voice tight with fear. "The blood maw is adapting. Cellular structure is changing in response to our weapons." Jake listened while setting up a small fire. The aliens had portable energy heaters, but Jake preferred real flames. Fire was honest. It did not lie or pretend to be something it was not. "What do you mean adapting?" asked Sergeant Rex, his gray fur standing on end. "When Captain Tor's plasma rifle hit the creature, I recorded the impact," Dr. Nira explained.
Ow!
The beam should have burned through anything organic. Instead, the creature's hide absorbed the energy and converted it to strengthen its cellular structure. "You mean it got stronger from being shot?" Lieutenant Kex asked, his tree-like bark creaking with worry. "Exactly. Each attack we make only helps it become more dangerous." The remaining hunters looked at each other with growing horror. Their weapons were not just useless, they were making their enemy stronger. Commander Voss tried to contact the Galactic Council fleet, but static filled the communication channels. "It is jamming our signals somehow," he said in disbelief. Jake poked at the fire with a stick. "Maybe it does not want you calling for help." "Impossible," Commander Voss snapped. "Animals do not understand technology." "This one does," Jake said quietly. A sound echoed through the forest. Not a roar this time, but something worse. The blood maw was laughing. The aliens froze. The sound was intelligent, mocking, and completely terrifying. It came from 3 different directions, as if the creature was surrounding them. "How is it doing that?" Sergeant Rex whispered. "Vocal cord manipulation," Dr. Nira said, her scanner shaking in her insect hands. "It is throwing its voice to confuse us about its location." The laughter stopped, replaced by perfect silence. But the silence was worse than the sound. It meant the creature was moving, getting closer. "We need to build defenses," Commander Voss said, trying to regain control. "Set up the energy barriers and motion sensors." The aliens worked quickly, creating a circle of protective shields around their camp. The barriers hummed with power, designed to stop anything from getting through. Motion sensors formed a detection grid that could spot a falling leaf. Jake watched them work and shook his head. "It is not going to work." "Why not?" Lieutenant Kex asked. "Because you were thinking like prey animals," Jake said. "You were trying to hide and defend. But this thing is a hunter. It does not attack defenses, it finds weaknesses. What would you suggest, human? Commander Voss asked with irritation. Jake shrugged. Where I come from, when something hunts you, you hunt it back. The alien stared at him like he had suggested flying to the moon by flapping his arms. Hunt the blood maw? Dr. Nira asked in amazement. With what? Our weapons are useless, and it is faster and stronger than all of us combined. Every hunter has weaknesses, Jake said. You just need to find them. Before anyone could respond, the motion sensors started screaming. Red lights flashed as something large moved through the detection grid, but the readings made no sense. The creature appeared to be in 6 places at once. Impossible, Sergeant Rex said, checking his instruments. Nothing can move that fast. Jake stood up and grabbed his plasma cutter. It is not moving fast. It is being smart. The energy barriers flickered and died. Our blood maw had found their power source and destroyed it from outside the detection grid. Now the camp sat in darkness, protected by nothing but their fear. It studied our equipment, Dr. Nira whispered in horror. It learned how our defenses work and disabled them. A shadow moved between the trees, then another. The creature was circling them, just outside the dying light of Jake's fire. Commander Voss raised his weapon, a massive energy cannon that could destroy a building. Show yourself, beast. The blood maw stepped into the light. Up close it was even more terrifying. 12 feet of muscle and claw, with 6 arms that moved independently. Its hide showed scars from hundreds of battles, but also something else. Patterns. The scars formed symbols like the marks on the rocks. It is writing on itself, Dr. Nira breathed. The creature is using its own scars as a form of record-keeping. The blood maw's red eyes focused on each alien, studying them. When its gaze fell on Jake, something changed. The creature tilted, its massive head, as if confused by what it saw. Commander Voss fired his energy cannon. The beam struck the blood maw's center mass and disappeared, absorbed into its hide like water into sand. The creature looked down at the impact point, then back at the commander. It made a sound that might have been laughter. Then it moved. Lieutenant Kex died first, his tree-like body torn apart by claws that moved faster than sight. Sergeant Rex tried to run, but made it only 3 steps before the creature's elongated arm grabbed him. The blood maw was not just killing them, it was studying them, learning from each death how to kill the next victim more efficiently. Dr. Nira backed against a tree, her scanner still recording. It is not hunting for food, she said, her voice filled with scientific wonder, even in the face of death. It is hunting for knowledge. Each kill teaches it something new. The creature's attention turned to her. One clawed hand reached out slowly, almost gently. Dr. Nira closed her compound eyes, waiting for death. Instead, the blood maw touched her scanner. The device sparked and died, but the creature did not harm her. It was more interested in her technology than her life. It wants to understand, Jake said suddenly. The creature's head snapped toward him. Its red eyes met his brown ones, and for a moment, neither moved. You are not just a predator, Jake continued, taking a step closer. You are a scientist. You have been studying the hunters who come here, learning from them. The blood maw made a sound like purring, was pleased that someone finally understood. But what are you learning for? Jake asked. In response, the creature gestured toward the sky with one of its 6 arms. Then it made more marks in the dirt, symbols that hurt. To look at, Dr. Nira gasped. Those are star charts. It is mapping the galaxy. It wants to leave this planet, Jake realized. All these years of studying hunters and their technology, it has been preparing for something bigger. The blood maw nodded its massive head, and it looked directly at Jake with an expression that seemed almost respectful. Of all the creatures it had encountered, this small human was the first to truly understand its purpose. Commander Voss raised his weapon again, but Jake held up his hand. Wait, it is a monster. The commander shouted. No, Jake said, still meeting the creature's gaze. It is something much worse. It is smart. The blood maw stepped back into the shadows, but its red eyes remained visible in the darkness. It was no longer hunting them. It was evaluating them. Deciding what to do with creatures who finally showed some intelligence, the night was far from over. The blood moths circled their camp like a shark in dark water. Its red eyes glowed in the shadows between the trees, watching, studying, learning. Only 3 aliens remained alive: Commander Voss, Dr. Nira, and Jake. The creature had killed the others not from hunger or rage, but from curiosity. "It is playing with us," Commander Voss whispered, his forearms trembling as he held his useless weapon, like a cat with mice. Dr. Nira kept her scanner running despite the damage. "No, Commander. It is conducting experiments. Each death taught it something about our biology, our technology, our behavior patterns." Jake sat by the dying fire, watching the creature's movements. The blood maw was not random in its actions. Every step, every gesture had purpose, moved like a scientist studying specimens, not a predator hunting prey. "What does it want from us?" Commander Voss asked. "Knowledge," Jake said quietly. "The question is, what kind of knowledge?" The blood maw stepped closer to the firelight. In the flickering glow, Jake could see the scars on its hide more clearly. They were not battle wounds. They were deliberate marks, carved with precision. Star maps, mathematical formulas, technical diagrams, all etched into the creature's own flesh. "Look at the patterns," Jake said, pointing to the scars. "It has been recording everything it learns on its own body." Dr. Nira adjusted her scanner to focus on the creature's markings. The scarification shows weapon specifications, ship designs, even genetic codes of different species. "It has been building a database of galactic civilization." The blood maw made a sound like grinding metal. It was communicating, but in a language none of them understood. "It wants something from us," Jake realized. "Something it has not been able to get from the other hunters." Commander Voss raised his weapon again. "I will not be studied like a laboratory animal." "Put the gun down," Jake said firmly. "You dare give me orders, human? That gun will not hurt it. But pointing it at the creature might make it angry. Right now, it is just curious. Do you want to see what happens when it gets mad, Commander?" Voss looked at his weapon, then at the massive creature watching them. Slowly, he lowered the gun. The blood maw moved closer. 6 arms moved independently, each one examining different aspects of their camp. One arm touched their communication, equipment, another picked up pieces of their weapons. A third arm reached toward Dr. Nira's scanner. "It wants our technology," Dr. Nira said, backing away. But the creature was not trying to take her scanner. Instead, it pointed at the device, then at the sky, then back at the device. It was asking a question. "Communications," Jake said suddenly.
"Oh."
"It wants to know about long-range communications." The blood maw's head turned toward Jake. Its red eyes seemed to glow brighter, like a computer processing new information.
Ow.
Jake stood up slowly, his hands visible and empty. "You've been trapped on this planet, haven't you? All this time, studying the hunters who come here, learning about their technology, but you can't leave because you don't know how to build a ship or contact the outside galaxy." The creature made that grinding sound again, but this time it sounded almost like agreement. "The hunters who come here, they all use different technologies, different languages, different systems. You have been trying to piece together how galactic civilization works, but the information is incomplete." Dr. Nira stared at Jake in amazement. "You think it wants to join galactic society?" "Not join," Jake said, his eyes never leaving the creature. "Escape." The blood maw took another step forward. Now it was close enough to touch them with its elongated arms. Commander Voss pressed himself against a tree, terrified, but the creature ignored him. Instead, the blood maw focused on Jake. One of its massive hands reached out slowly and touched the human's chest, just over his heart. The touch was surprisingly gentle for such a dangerous creature. "It recognizes something in you," Dr. Nira whispered. Jake felt the creature's claw against his shirt. The touch was careful, controlled, like a surgeon's hand. "You are not just a predator," he said to the blood maw. "You are something else entirely." The creature withdrew its hand and began drawing symbols in the dirt. The marks were complex, showing star systems and travel routes. But there was something wrong with the diagrams. Pieces were missing. "It knows where it wants to go," Jake realized, "but not how to get there." Dr. Nira crept closer to examine the symbols. These star charts are incredibly detailed. It's more accurate than anything in our databases. Right. But the propulsion calculations are incomplete. The blood maw pointed at Dr. Nira's scanner, then at its own scarred hide, then at the sky. The message was clear. It had collected all this information, but could not use it. "You need help," Jake said. The creature nodded its massive head. Commander Voss found his voice. "This is insane. It is a monster that has killed hundreds of people." "No," Jake said, still looking at the blood maw. "It is a prisoner that has been defending itself against hundreds of intruders." The distinction hit the aliens like a physical blow. All these years, the Galactic Council had sent hunters to kill what they thought was a mindless beast. But they had actually been attacking an intelligent being that was trapped on this world. "The Great Hunt," Dr. Nira said in horror. "We have been committing murder for entertainment." The blood maw drew more symbols, these ones showing the hunters who had come before. Each symbol showed how they died, but also what the creature had learned from them. Weapon types, armor designs, communication protocols, all carefully documented. "You have been preparing," Jake said. "All this time, you have been getting ready to leave this place." The creature made that grinding sound again. This time Jake thought he understood. It was not communication. It was frustration. The blood maw had all the pieces of the puzzle except the most important ones. "What do you need?" Jake asked. The creature pointed at the communication equipment, then at itself, then at the stars. It needed to contact someone or something beyond this world. Dr. Nira checked her scanner. "Our long-range communications are damaged." Even if they worked, the creature could not use them without proper authorization codes. The blood maw's eyes focused on Jake with laser intensity. It had recognized something in the human that the aliens had missed. Jake was not like the others. He did not think like prey. "You want me to help you?" Jake said. The creature nodded. Commander Voss stepped forward, his weapon raised again. "I forbid this. The creature is too dangerous to be allowed off this planet." The blood maw's head turned toward the commander. For the first time since Jake had been talking to it, the creature looked truly dangerous. 6 arms flexed, claws extending. The casual scientist was gone, replaced by the killing machine that had torn apart the hunting party. "Commander," Jake said quietly, "you might want to reconsider that threat." But it was too late. The blood maw had heard enough. It was tired of being hunted, tired of being trapped, and tired of being called a monster by creatures who came to its home too. "Kill it for sport." The creature's red eyes fixed on Commander Voss with deadly intent. The time for conversation was over. The moment stretched like a wire about to snap. Commander Voss stood with his weapon pointed at the blood maw, his forearms shaking with fear and anger. The creature's red eyes burned with deadly intent, its 6 arms flexing as razor-sharp claws, extended from each massive hand. "Commander, lower your weapon," Jake said, his voice steady despite the tension. "You are making a mistake." "The only mistake was listening to you, human," Commander Voss snarled. "This monster cannot be allowed to leave this planet. Think of the damage it could do to galactic civilization." Dr. Nira backed away from both the armed commander and the increasingly agitated blood maw. "Commander Voss, please reconsider. Have learned so much. This creature is not what we thought." The blood maw took a step toward Commander Voss. Its massive frame moved with fluid grace, every muscle coiled and ready to strike. The creature had killed 6 professional hunters in minutes. One more would not even slow it down. "Stop," Jake said, stepping between them. Both the alien commander and the towering predator looked at the human in surprise. Jake was smaller than either of them, armed with nothing but an old plasma cutter designed for cutting cargo containers. By all logic, he should have been running for his life. Instead, he faced the blood maw calmly. "You do not want to kill him." The creature tilted its massive head, confused by Jake's boldness. "If you kill him now, you prove their point. You become the monster they think you are." Jake's brown eyes met the creature's burning red gaze. "But you are not a monster. You are a scientist, an explorer, someone who has been trapped on this world for too long." The blood maw's claws slowly retracted. It made that grinding sound that Jake now recognized as its attempt at speech. You want to join the galaxy, not destroy it, Jake continued. Killing Commander Voss will not help you achieve that goal. Commander Voss kept his weapon trained on the creature you were defending. A killer. Human. That thing has murdered hundreds of innocent hunters. Innocent? Jake turned to face the commander, his voice growing cold. They came here to kill it for sport. They hunted it like an animal for entertainment. How is that innocent? It is just a beast. No, Jake said firmly. It is not. To prove his point, Jake walked directly to the blood maw. The creature could have killed him with a casual swipe of any of its 6 arms. Instead, it watched him approach with curious eyes. Jake reached into his pocket and pulled out a small data pad, a basic device used for cargo manifests. He held it out to the creature. The blood maw examined the device carefully. One of its clawed hands touched the screen with surprising delicacy. The data pad activated, showing Jake's shipping records and star charts. The creature's eyes widened. As it saw the navigation data, its massive fingers moved across the screen with practiced skill, scrolling through information about trade routes, planet locations, and communication frequencies. It knows how to use our technology, Dr. Nero whispered in amazement. Look how quickly it is, learning the interface. Within minutes, the blood maw had absorbed all the information on Jake's datapad. It looked up at the human with what might have been gratitude, then began drawing new symbols in the dirt. The symbols showed a clear picture. The creature was not native to Cathara Prime. It had crashed here long ago, just like Jake. But unlike Jake, no rescue had ever come. The blood maw had been stranded for decades, maybe centuries. You are a refugee, Jake realized. The creature nodded its massive head. Dr. Nira crept closer to study the symbols. These markings show star systems I do not recognize. This creature may be from beyond our explored galaxy. An alien among aliens, Jake said. No wonder you have been studying. Everyone who comes here? You are trying to understand how this part of the galaxy works. Commander Voss lowered his weapon slightly. Even if this is true, we cannot simply let it leave. The Galactic Council would never approve. The Galactic Council has been organizing hunting parties to kill an intelligent refugee, Jake pointed out. I do not think their approval matters much right now. The blood maw drew more symbols, these showing its home among distant stars. The longing in the creature's posture was obvious even to the aliens. It wanted to go home. How long have you been trapped here? Jake asked. The creature held up its 6 arms, then repeated the gesture multiple times. Dr. Nira counted quickly. Over 300 years, she said in shock. 3 centuries of isolation, Jake said. No wonder you learned to defend yourself so well. The blood maw made its grinding sound again, but softer this time. It was not the sound of a predator or a monster. It was the sound of someone who had been alone for far too long. Jake looked at his datapad, still in the creature's massive hands. The communication codes on that device can access the shipping networks. If you study them, you might be able to contact ships passing through this system. Commander Voss stepped forward angrily. You cannot give it access to galactic communication networks. Why not? Jake asked. What is the worst that could happen? Sends a message home asking for rescue. It contacts other refugees who might be lost in our galaxy. It could coordinate an invasion. Jake looked at the blood maw, who was carefully copying the communication codes into the dirt next to its star charts. Does this look like someone planning an invasion? Or does it look like someone trying to find a way home? Dr. Nira studied her scanner readings. The creature shows no signs of aggression toward us now. Its behavior has completely changed since we stopped treating it as a threat. The blood maw finished copying the codes and handed Jake's datapad back to him. Then it stood to its full 12-foot height and moved toward the forest. Where is it going? Commander Voss asked. Jake understood. To find a way off this planet. The creature paused at the edge of the clearing and looked back at them. It raised one of its massive hands in what was clearly a gesture of farewell. Wait, Dr. Nira called out. She approached the creature slowly, holding out her scanner. Take this. It contains detailed information about galactic civilization, trade routes, and communication protocols. The blood maw accepted the scanner with careful hands. Its red eyes met Dr. Nira's compound ones, and for a moment, understanding passed between two scientists from different worlds. Then the creature disappeared into the forest, moving silently, despite its massive size. Commander Voss stared after it in confusion. "We just let it go. We just corrected 3 centuries of mistakes," Jake said. They stood in silence for several minutes, listening to the sounds of the forest returning to normal. Birds began singing again. Small animals emerged from hiding. The oppressive feeling of being hunted was gone. "What do we tell the Galactic Council?" Commander Voss asked finally. Jake smiled grimly. "The truth. That their greatest monster was actually their greatest victim." Dr. Nira was already updating her files. "I will recommend that Cathera Prime be reclassified as a protected refugee world. No more hunting parties." "And if the creature does contact its people?" Commander Voss asked. "Then maybe we will finally meet neighbors instead of prey," Jake said. Far above them, a ship appeared in the night sky. Jake's rescue had finally arrived. But as they prepared to leave Cathera Prime, Jake wondered if the real rescue had been the other way around. Sometimes the most dangerous predator was the one who forgot how to be anything else. And sometimes all it took to change that was someone willing to listen instead of shoot. The forest was quiet now, but it was a peaceful quiet. Was gone, carrying with it the knowledge it needed to find its way home. Jake looked up at the stars and smiled. The galaxy had just become a more interesting place.